Millions of American jobs start right here.
America's farmers export over $100 billion of crops and products.
We have the #1 trade surplus of any American industry.
It's as true today as it has been for generations.
America's farmers grow America.
Brought to you on behalf of America's farmers by Monsanto.
Congressman Bill Enyart from Illinois' 12th District, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Spencer. It's great to be with you.
Just for starters, can you tell us a little bit about your district and the kinds of agriculture within it?
Well, I'd love to. I represent Illinois' 12th Congressional District, which is in southwestern Illinois. And it runs, I like to say I've got the west coast of Illinois, actually the southwest coast of Illinois. It runs from Alton on the north, which is about 30 miles north of St. Louis, all the way along the Mississippi River to Cairo, which is the very southern tip of Illinois. Then it comes back up Interstate 57 to Mount Vernon. So it's 12 counties, largely corn and soybean production.
Alrighty, and serving as a member of the Agriculture Committee, I know we passed a farm bill in January, but still a lot of work to do. What are some of your priorities when it comes to agricultural legislation and your Ag Committee work?
Well, you know, we were really happy to get the Ag bill done. It took a lot of work. As you know, the first time through, it went down to defeat in the House, but then with some changes, we did get the agriculture bill done. I think my next critical efforts will really come with the river, because the Mississippi River is so critical to my district in terms of shipping product out, as well as bringing fertilizer and oil inputs up the river. So currently we're sitting there, you know, with locks and dams that were built 60, 70 years ago with a projected lifespan of 50 years. So they're already currently well past their projected lifespan. And those are 600-foot locks and dams, or 600-foot locks. And would like to get those expanded to a 1,200-foot lock. The reason for that is currently you have to break the tows up and bring them through a few at a time, which is very inefficient in terms of fuel usage, in terms of time, and in terms of cost of transporting products both up and down river. So that'll have a big impact on agriculture and the cost of transporting both inputs as well as crops. You know, we've gone through the flood of '08, the flood of '11, then we had the drought of '12. So we've seen the river levels fluctuate dramatically, and that's really had an impact on agriculture in my district. So that's certainly something we want to work on.
And you also have a district that resides within the Corn Belt, and it seems like every year there's a debate on the status of the Renewable Fuels Standard. Where do you stand when it comes to the RFS? Well,
I've been a great advocate for keeping the RFS where it is. And in fact, I'm meeting with the White House this coming Monday on that very issue. You know, the ethanol use, and frankly, it's less expensive. I had a meeting with an oil refinery CEO a few weeks ago, who told me it's less expensive to develop a gallon of ethanol than it is a gallon of gasoline. And so it certainly helps our energy problems in this country, and it's critically important not only to the consumer of gasoline, but it's also important to the producer, to the farmer who's raising that corn.
And working as a member of the House Ag Committee and as well as having other committee responsibilities, what have you seen as the biggest differences in the committee work inside and outside of agriculture?
Oh gosh, you know, it's interesting. I think the interesting part for me, and of course I'm new to Congress, I just got elected last year, or I just took office last year, I was elected in the fall of 2012, is that frequently on the Agriculture Committee, you'll see greater regional differences than you will differences between Republicans and Democrats. So for example, the corn and soybean guys will have one position on an issue, whereas the cotton and peanut growers will have another position on an issue. So that's what's been interesting to me, is the various regional alignments and crop alignments that you see.
And anyone that walks in your office knows that you are proud of your record of military service. Certainly places to look and see mementos of that everywhere. How did that record of military service and leadership help you when you came to Washington? Well,
I'm quite a bit different than the typical freshman member to Congress. I think the typical freshman member to Congress is a 38-year-old lawyer who's been a state legislator. And so I'm a bit older than that. And although I am a lawyer, having spent nearly 36 years in the military defending our great nation, and having risen to the rank of Major General, I have a perspective on defense issues, on national security, that is perhaps a bit more in depth than your average freshman member, having spent all those years and served on national level policy making committees for the Department of Defense. And in fact, one of the bills that I've introduced as a result of that is to have the Air Force explore using biofuels in jet aircraft. The Navy's already doing that, the Air Force is not. We have Scott Air Force Base located right in the northern part of my district, and with ethanol plants in the district, substantial corn growing in the district, as well as ethanol research facilities at Southern Illinois University. I thought it was important that we bring the Air Force on board with that.
And now that you've had some time to kind of get your bearings, so to speak, what has surprised you the most about being a member of Congress?
Oh, gosh. What has surprised me the most about being, the unfortunate thing is that all too often we get involved in partisan issues that really don't need to be partisan. My entire adult life has been spent in solving problems, whether I was in business or whether I was practicing law and when I was in the military. My focus was to get a job done and to get a job done right. And unfortunately, we don't always see that in Congress. I'd like to see us stop posturing for political advantage and instead work together for the benefit of our nation.
And just to wrap up here, can you tell us a little bit about your personal background and what was it that really made you want to run for office? I had spent nearly 36 years in military service to the nation, and I was approached to run for Congress. The fellow who won the primary, the Democratic primary in my district, had to resign for medical reasons, and so I was approached to run. And I realized that it was a great opportunity for me to serve at a different level, to serve in a different way, and to perhaps bring a different perspective to Washington, D.C. And that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to bring the values of Southern Illinois to Washington, D.C. I grew up as a kid walking the beans on my grandparents' farm, and so I understand what it's like to be out before sunrise in the fields, and I think that's something that we need here in Washington. Congressman Bill Enyart from Illinois' 12th District, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Spencer.